Hey all, bit of shop infrastructure stuff. Finally using these bins I picked up at the swap meet at the beginning of the year. Making this less of a mess. These Harbor Freight bins work, but they're a pain to get on and off the back piece. So that's what these are replacing. But also having those high up on a shelf is also kind of a pain. And this stack of stuff is awkward. So my plan is to move that shelf down enough that all of that stuff and all this other random stuff here can go under it, you know, 2 boxes higher, thereabouts. And then these things are going to get a rack built vertically, and those are going to get a rack built down the side. There's actually 4 of them all total down the side, so I can reach all of them. That should make a better use of the space, not have a dead space up at the top like I do, and also just be overall cleaner and neater. So let's get to that. Alright, so this is what I've decided to go with. These pieces are going to be my verticals. They're notched to fit around that ridge in the back of the cabinet. A couple screw holes in them. And then I've got these 21-inch flats. And what's going to basically happen is I'm going to have these with these welded across. And I'm going to place this not there, but like there, so that the end of the hook of it of the last cabinet can fit around it. So that, because if I put it here, the last cabinet would fit over here and I would lose some distance. But I think if I do this, it might be better. Or I might do this on one side, but not the other. We'll figure it out. But anyway, now it's time to mount these up where I think they're going to work, and then start figuring out the distances on these and welding them on. I have 4 cut for now. I can cut 2 more once we figure out our heights. I need to leave a little bit of a gap between the containers so that they can be tipped up and pulled out. Alright, there we are. You saw I had to cut these off and redo them because 2 things. One that I figured out before I started welding, which is that these needed to be at a slight angle. They couldn't be completely flat, or the bins would hang at so much of an angle that barely anything would fit in them. So they're not mounted this way, they're mounted like that. I think they should be fine. If I start putting weight in them and they start bending downwards, I'll reinforce them. I can just run a rod across behind the whole length of it, tack it in. The other thing is I had to change the heights. You saw me cut off these 2, move them up, because my spacing looked great, but when I went to remove a bin, there wasn't enough vertical clearance to be able to take the bin off and put it back on. I'm still having a little bit of clearance issues with this seam in the back just because of where this ended up. I'm going to do a better job of hammering that flat. As far as spacing, that vertical rod is over just enough that the hook from the last one can get on the other side of it, but it's prevented these are prevented from really sliding off by the end of the cabinet. Over here, this one is placed so that you hook it on, it can't go far enough to fall off the end. The vertical keeps it from sliding over, which means they can't slide off, which means I don't have to put some sort of stop at the end. This is doing the job. I'm probably going to make another row for up there just to have it, but I'm just going to make it out of 2 separate pieces of vertical and a bar across, and then position it where it works most sensibly. Over here, I tried to use the hooks on the back of these to hook onto here, but it put them at such an angle that I could not fit the 4 of them vertically. So I'm going to pull all this out, and I'm going to rebuild it as just 4 little shelves, because as shelves these will fit just fine. So the next step of this is going to be to clean these all up. All right, here's my bins. They all got sort of half-acidly wire brushed inside and then sprayed with phosphoric acid, let that sit for a little bit, and then hosed out. Now they're drying. That'll get enough of the rust out that they'll be fine on the inside. This one, for some reason one side didn't take, but other than that, they all look pretty good. They're all going to get truck bed lined inside. I haven't decided yet whether I'm painting the outside or leaving them in the patina, but at least this way, where the actual bolts sit will be nice, so the bolts won't pick up rust and gross. You know, the hardware won't get gross by being in these bins. So these are going to dry overnight, and then I will work on the next step in the morning. And now I'm treating the outsides of these with the phosphoric acid. Some of them, obviously, it's not going to be enough, but you can see from the last batch, it gets all the surface rust off pretty much. What I want from these is I want them to have some patina, but I don't want them to look gross or be gross to touch. So this is basically going to do it. As soon as I've got all of them done, they're all going to get a thorough wash so that I get all the last little bits of residue. The insides are going to get truck bed lined, and those should be good. The ones that are particularly bad, I may swap out. I still have a bin full of them over here. I'm trying to stick to the one shade of gray. So I don't have as many as it seems like, but I do have more in here. So I may swap some out if some of them don't come out as good as I'd hoped. And here's all my little containers, truck bed lined inside. It's not a great job because the can I had of truck bed liner, I stole the cap off because the cap was missing from something else, and proceeded to fill that cap with glue. And so these, I had to rob a cap off of something else and modify it so that it would actually spray. So this didn't go on as well as I wanted, but it'll do the job. It covered up the rust. It made these a little stronger inside. And once these are dry, I'm going to decide whether or not I'm going to paint the outsides and then go forward from there. All right, a little bit of a jump forward. These have all been installed. The ones that needed to be have been labeled. I now have extras. I'm going to build another rack up there at the top, probably for another 5 of these, but I don't need them for right now because a bunch of these are still empty. I built this rack that holds these. Very simple, little bit of L, 2 things that these now just slot onto, and then that holds those all securely. So yeah, this cabinet's been redone. I have all my box stuff down here. I have all my loose bolts and stuff here. I've got sort of wood screws, sheet metal screws, tiny machine screws and nuts, and nailers and staples for the 18 gauge stapler there. So that is now all much more organized. These are way solider and they're way easier to remove and put back on than those cheap plastic ones were. I was going to paint these, but with COVID energy, I decided screw it. I'm going to just install them and have them work. And if they bother me later, I'll take them down and paint them. But right now, since the insides are done, they're not going to get all rusty and gross and nasty, and they're not going to transfer that rust to the hardware that's in them. So that's good enough. So we'll call that done and a win. I still have a bunch more of these. I bought like 40 of them. So I'm going to keep an eye out for other places where they might be useful and probably add some more at some point somewhere else. But for right now, this is what they were bought for. So I'm going to call that a win and call it done. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.